And here we are live. Welcome aboard, Aaron.
Dude, you put some effort into your studio. Look at that. You got lighting and sound paneling.
I
and you
went
got
and visited
display
this.
case. Holy shit.
Look at how similar it is to yours. I visited this awesome studio in South Dakota.
Well, one can only there's Miami, Las Vegas, and LA. Oh, there you are. You have your Apple, you have YouTube open, don't you?
I closed it.
Oh, do you think not? Okay, here let's test you for professional podcasting school. Okay, should you keep the YouTube channel open or close it before you podcast? Which do you think that is?
I think that's like the person on talk radio with their radio turned up trying to talk.
Yes, there you go. That's but you did put a lot of effort into it. You got your credenza with all you got George Washington up there and your sold sign and everything. It looks real good.
Yeah, look across the back. You see George Washington sold sign. Do you know what that's right below the sold sign?
Can't see it.
Bullets?
HP 12C. Original in the box.
HP 12C?
Yeah, you didn't use that in your banking days?
What's HP
Financial
12C?
Calculator? That predates Excel.
Oh, okay. I had a Texas Instruments 34, I think. That was way back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yep, I remember those.
And then there's a book on that bottom shelf. Do you recognize that cover?
Bottom shelf.
Right under my head
I
here.
Can't see
the
it.
Little black book.
Oh, that's behind the housing crash. Yeah.
Yes.
That I recognize that anywhere because the picture was taken in Shakopee, Minnesota. That field is filled with houses now.
And the owners
after the crash.
The owners living in Florida, probably.
Oh, probably if they're smart enough to get out of Minnesota. So, what are we talking about today?
We were just kind of going through that. So the retail sales report came in today. So that's up. I was expecting that to be down. I'm expecting we go into some sort of recession here. You're the economist. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. No one's paid me to pay attention to the economy in years. What? So with the real estate retail sales, I mean, talk overall retail sales were higher than average.
Just the report came in, so it's up. I was expecting it to be down, that the consumer's hurting, but they're still out spending.
Yeah, this is, how can we put, I mean, again, I haven't looked at any numbers or data and all that, but we are not in a recession, but we are in a depressed economy. Like, you can have economies that aren't good, that are sclerotic and slow and limping along, and that's kind of what we are right now. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really trust much of the data coming out from the federal sources, where the jobs revision, even that one hit my radar. As much as I try to ignore economics, they revised it down, what, 800,000 jobs?
818,000.
Yeah, okay, so retail sales, well, you got an article?
Missed it by that much.
By that much. Is there an article you got about retail sales?
I did not open that article up, no. That was a report.
Retail sales. Solid gain. Here it is. Solid gain in September, showing a continued strong economy. I said that. No, it's that Market Watch. Okay, CBS. It's not Market Watch. Retail sales increased 0.4% in September with strength in a broad range of categories. Forecasted a 0.3 gain. August retail sales rose 0.1. A lot of these can be rounding errors. Sales strong, big picture, blah, blah, blah. All right, let me take a look at what.
All right, we got someone just said core retail sales month over month, 0.5%, 0.1% expected.
Hang on, let me take a look at the unemployment rate. That's inching upwards. Okay. Let's take a look at labor force participation rate from the Fed. Do you remember when I told you about the Fred database?
Yes.
Craig, like a decade and change ago?
Yes. I use that a lot. I haven't used it in a while.
The number of women I wooed with the Fred database. Labor force participation rate is still low. Yeah, I don't see a booming economy here. Let me take a look at GDP growth. I'm just pulling the real quick ones.
And last week they came out with a booming jobs report, right? Wasn't it 260,000 jobs, way higher than expected? They'll revise that down next month, I'm sure, by 100,000.
Okay, Q1 is
300,000.
1.6, 3.2, 4.2, the 3.0. I see. I don't trust the GDP. I'll be honest, I don't. Here, let's do sales. Sales to inventory. You know what that means?
No.
No, but I hear inventory is building a little bit. Just heard that report today.
Not to bore you guys with an economics lesson, but they like to compare sales to inventory, and that's a pretty good historical predictor of recessions and bad times. But it applies, it's becoming less so because this was back when we were a manufacturing company and we weren't just a bunch of soy boy crybabies. So you got your sales. That's how quickly you're selling out of your inventory divided by inventory. And if your sales weren't going up, your inventory would accrue. And so this number would go down. Or I'm sorry, inventory to sales, this number would go up. So you got all this inventory sitting and it ain't selling. And so this increase in inventory to sales is not good because it usually predicts, So it's been going up. Now you had to kind of digest through the hiccup of the disease we had, that we spent more than we did on World War II, percentage of GDP fighting a very bad cold. But this is the one I'd have a little more faith in this, where inventory to sales keeps going up. It's trending down because of technological advances over the course of history. I don't want to bore people. Have less and less inventory on average, but yeah, this one's up. I would it's one of those old school things. Like, how do you feel? How does the average person feel in the United States? And right now they're not doing too well, I'd imagine.
Are you looking at the Fred retailers and inventories to sale ratio?
Yep, inventories to sales. So you see how it has a general trend downward, but in the past 2.5, 3 years, it's been going up. I put a little more faith in that. And keep in mind, we may not have
here?
that one. We may not have like a crippling recession. It might just be a slowdown, or you go into
like
a very light
early
recession.
80s, the stagflation kind of stuff.
Oh, that was the worst recession we've had since the Great Depression. That one even
I thought the
housing crisis
was.
Volcker recession was even worse.
Well, I didn't think it was as bad. I thought that was just stagflation.
They're close. They were close.
Okay.
But yeah, this would be more akin to, there was a .com. You couldn't even call it a recession because it wasn't two contracting quarters of economic growth. It was when Bush took over. And I don't know if you remember the Democrats long ago saying, this is the worst economy in 50 years. It was like the most bold-faced lie ever said. It's like, no, the Volcker recession was, and the 90-91 recession was worse than the one we got now. It was just an economic slowdown, and they
But in the Volcker recession, house prices didn't crash. They didn't go down. They went
I'd
up.
have to look.
Yeah, they went up.
They went up? Okay.
Yep. And that was inflation drove it up.
So I was just looking, if we have a booming economy, I've been reading about the Dollar Tree stores and dollar stores, and all these guys are having all kinds of trouble because the lower end of the economic scale is not doing well in America, as you can imagine. Their stock's down from 164 down to $67. So they've lost about 2/3 of their value, closing stores. So I think the economy's going okay for people kind of part of the upper middle class and the upper class. The rest of it's getting hurt badly. Food costs are still going up.
Wasn't McDonald's having trouble with sales too?
Yep. Got to get back to better value meals.
Yeah.
No. I mean, this is, I'm sure the headline numbers, whether it's retail sales or GDP or unemployment, are fine. I think what's really hurting people the most would be the inflation we've had probably the past 5 years, because that really, over 5 years, that's definitely cut into people's purchasing power, and that ultimately determines their standard of living. So they could still have a job. Their job could have a pay raise, but if it's not keeping up with inflation, I think that's probably why most people feel economic malaise, even though your other figures kind of, well, they don't point to recession and they don't show a recession, but they are lesser times than they were before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of people tied to government work, insurance work, all that stuff just keeps going up.
That was that jobs report. It was all government and medical, right?
Yeah, I remember that part of it.
Government,
yes.
education, healthcare. Yeah.
Dude,
Massive.
what would we do without the teachers? They produce so much for the economy. Like teaching us how to do dangling participles and what else did they teach us?
Don't get me started on the education business. Oh my gosh.
I think I'd outdo you on getting started.
I don't know. He'll give you a run for the money.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Bad deal. Just a bad deal. So Craig, I was working today. I've got a, without getting into all the details, I'm helping someone who unfortunately is going through an IRS audit on some real estate. Well, all the stuff. They're looking at all the real estate and all this stuff. And just say you don't want to deal with the IRS auditors very often. I'll just say that. They're not particularly easy to deal with. They're not messing with me, but they're messing with the client and just making it's just difficult, super difficult.
They hired a lot of that out to like a third party, didn't they?
I don't know.
I know several people that got these letters from this, like a contracting company on collections.
Okay.
And then they'll say, oh, you owe $10,000.
Yeah.
And then you got to go contact them. Well, we don't have the report. You have to contact the IRS.
Interesting.
And it's
so the IRS has outstanding, or they've determined that people owe them more taxes, and so they send out a collection agency instead of an agent.
Yeah, it's like a collection agency, and it's all fines, right? There's like no actual tax to it. It's just all fines, and they're just kind of poking to see what they can get. Is what.
But think about, don't you think it's probably a pretty good return rate? I would imagine, right? I mean, if you got a letter like that, most people will probably say, "All right, I'll pay
make
you
it go away,
$5 grand, 10 grand, or whatever I owe you. Just go away."
Yeah.
Right. Instead of challenging it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
So mortgage rates went up.
I thought they're on their way down.
No, they zigged instead of zagged.
Oh, what are mortgage rates nowadays?
We think they're about 6.5.
Oops.
30 says 7.05.
Yeah, I checked. Google said 7 as well, and then Fortune is saying the average is about 6.5.
Yeah,
across the country, and that sounds about right.
That's not the worst. Was there any fallout in real estate due to this, or?
No, what happened was the 10-year spiked on that jobs report. And yeah, it did slow sales down. So the Fed announced they're gonna cut by a 0.5 point, and then everyone was expecting rates to go down. Then the jobs report came back out with like 200-some thousand jobs, and then the 10-year reacted, which shot these rates up, and then it slowed real estate sales
I'm
down.
honest to God, I was an economist at one time. Explain how the fuck does this work? How do all these dominoes fall? Interest. Where are we going to start?
Magic.
Interest rates were whatever they are. Then the jobs report came out. Just for all you normal people who aren't economists, like normal economists like me, we're still like, what the, how, what? So let's go through this again. A jobs report came out.
Yeah. So let's say rates were sitting around 5, and no, they were at like 6.
6.
Okay.
They're at 6. All right.
So we were right at 6. And then the Fed announced they're going to cut the prime rate by 0.5.
Okay. They're going to cut the federal funds rate.
So everyone got excited. Yep. So the federal funds rate was going to go down. So everyone thought mortgage rates were going to go down. And then like 2 days later, the jobs report came out.
And it was better than expected?
Way better than expected, like 200-some thousand.
So the economy is overheating. Demand for short-term borrowing is higher, and then the 10-year interest rate went up? Is that
Something like that.
Craig, I just gave you a chart. I just put a chart in the chat.
Yeah, let me take a look at the chart. I'm just trying to figure out, most people don't. I'm trying to figure out how the 10-year interest rate.
10-year reacted. As soon as the Fed announced the 50 basis point drop, the 10-year started going up again. So it must have known the news, of course, and then, you know, what's the word? Sell, buy on the rumor, sell on the news. So it went up. If you click that to the 6-month or 3-month, you'll see the rise.
1 day, 3 month.
3 months. Right. So somewhere in there,
this was probably the jobs report
increase.
Okay,
rate
so
decrease.
10-year interest rate shot up. I'm trying to figure out how that affects the 30-year interest rate, though, for mortgages.
Well, the mortgages seem to go off this 10 years, kind of what they're really playing off of. How many points have they marking it up? 2 points? Almost 2 points? Not quite.
It's about, well, it's a little over 2 right now. Historically, it's been
2.5.
closer to like 1.2, 1.4, somewhere in there.
And do you know why it's marked up so much, Craig?
Banks fear.
Yeah, when you triple or double the amount of time that you're going to hold on to a loan, there's a lot more risk associated with a 30-year than a 10. So that's why longer bonds tend to have a higher rate, or longer term mortgages or loans tend to have a higher rate because there's more risk.
Yeah, but the 30-year fixed rate usually trends with the 10-year.
Generally, they all trend together. Yes, what I'm thinking happened here is, I think I don't think the 10-year has anything to do with it. I think jobs came in, quote, stronger than expected up to revision. It spooked people that there's going to be inflation, and so your interest rates went up, in part because banks have to ballpark for inflation to get a real rate of return. And then the Federal Reserve, there's now an slight increased chance that the federal funds rate will go up, or they won't cut it by 50% or 50 basis points.
Right.
But just for everyone to know that unless I'm unaware of some kind of financing arrangement, the federal funds rate should have no effect on your 30-year mortgage rate.
Correct.
That should have no
determination. And nor does the 10-year, but they have influence.
Okay.
They're not tied together. You're right. They're not tied.
Right.
Yeah.
But they seem to be. And just as I'm curious how the financial markets have been decoupled from profits, like it doesn't matter what your profits are anymore. It's just like, fancy conversion. Oh, interest rates low. And then the stock prices go up regardless of the fundamentals of the company. I'm wondering if there's now, instead of a decoupling, there is a recoupling of short-term interest rates to long-term interest rates that is just as irrational. Like, oh, well, short-term interest rates, so now long. It's like, through what warped logic, how is the economy dysfunctioning now that might be the case?
You're the economist.
I'll blame it on the algos.
I was the economist until fucked up shit like this started happening, where people didn't care about earnings or cash flow, where people don't pay back their loans. It's a bizarro world. It's a very odd world where if things don't start making sense. For example, if you guys remember The Big Short, where the data was coming out that loans were defaulting, but the value of the mortgage-backed securities kept going up, that decoupling, that irrationality, it's fascinating, but it makes any kind of attempt to analyze an economy impossible. And if anything else, it indicates to me that there's something wrong or screwy and there's going to be future pain. So I don't know, maybe someone who's paid attention to the markets more recently than I have. I'm very curious what the hell the federal funds rate has to do with a 30-year fixed mortgage.
They've always tracked. I've been doing this a long time, and you could always kind of see where the 30-year fixed was going to go by watching the 10-year.
The 10-year, yeah, I'm talking federal funds. I'm talking the Federal Reserve short-term interest rates.
I think that just indicates the general direction of the economy. I don't think it has anything to do with actually the 30-year, because people think it does. Oh, they lowered interest rates, so everyone thinks mortgage rates. No,
right? They think mortgage rates. It's like, no, it's the bank, the rate at which banks borrow from the Fed. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Or Chuck Norris borrows from the Fed.
I didn't follow that.
Don't you remember the Chuck Norris jokes?
No.
There's one says Chuck Norris doesn't borrow from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve borrows from Chuck Norris. You never heard those Chuck Norris jokes?
Yeah, but I don't remember.
Chuck Norris once went to a feminist convention. He came back with a sandwich. I mean, they're great.
What else we got, Craig?
Well, we're talking jobs and where this economy goes. So you're talking about how things are totally decoupled from reality. So you can talk about the U.S. dollars total decoupled from reality, right? We're printing $1 trillion.
Oh God, no,
yeah. So I mean, we can run down that rabbit hole, but that's not where we're going with this. But the Elon Musk has come out with these new robots, right? Have you seen that, Optimus?
like the driving robots?
No, these are
No.
like
They'll serve drinks, right? The bartender. Do you see that example?
they're like C-3PO in white suits walking around.
Yeah.
Okay. What do they do? Are they practical robots, or is it just look what we could do with technology?
They're practical. Like
Okay.
they'll be bartenders. They'll probably be realtors. They'll probably be doctors.
I don't
I
know,
mean,
maybe doctors. Boy, you're throwing doctors and realtors in the same group?
absolutely. Have you met a
Wow.
doctor?
I don't know if you have a
Their
low
egos
opinion
are
of
about the same.
Well, yeah, but they make something. I'm just saying. They just
No, I mean, if you have AI, right, a doctor has a general knowledge on, that all that information is at the fingertips with artificial intelligence as the stuff grows. AI can replace that kind of skill level.
like a diagnosis, but I don't know if AI can like make a surgery or
Why not?
Yeah,
I
that'll be
don't know.
interesting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want robot doctors. I want robot like Jennifer
want girl boss
Aniston. Yeah,
doctors?
I want Anne Margaret robots from
They're working on
1968.
those. I'm sure
Well,
they
I hope
are.
to God they are. I don't give a
I'm
shit.
sure
I
they
want
are.
Dr. Bot. Oh yeah, cough. Here, let me put my robot finger up your ass. Look at your prostate. Okay, cough. Oh, you're fine. No, I want Jennifer Aniston or Selma Hayek. We agree, Selma Hayek robot.
That's a
Okay.
fantastic idea, by the way. Those models and superstars should be doing licensing deals right now. That's a great idea.
So
Yeah,
is your
so-
concern? Your concern is that these like a Luddite argument. They're going to come in and replace us all, or what?
It has the potential to do that. So that kind of begs to, what is your skill level? It
Right.
used to be if you worked on the factory floor, you could be replaced with automation.
Mm.
If you were that low level trade was always replaceable. Now this AI technology with these robots, the skilled level, the managers, the like you type into this AI and say, make me a program. Like I'll say, okay, look at this property at XYZ street. Run me the ROI on if rents were $2,100 a month. Boom,
Right.
it'll run the whole calculation.
But
Right.
what does that have to do with the robots? Because a robot is like a physical thing that needs to be there. I could understand like software or algorithm or an AI on a computer, like do this appraisal for me. I could see that replace, and in some ways that already has. But are you worried about like a robot showing up and showing someone a house?
No, they're not sentient, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
have the emotion, but yeah, they can. These robots will have that ability. You could send this robot, so they're expecting it to run 30 grand. So you buy these robots, this is an asset, and then you say, okay, go run, do my grocery shopping. I'll go to the grocery store, pick out your groceries, and it'll come
Okay.
back. So it's the same technology that Tesla was designing for the self-driving cars. That same technology does these robots, and it's kind of a humanoid looking thing. And then you mix in the artificial intelligence with it. So, McDonald's can be replaced with a kiosk, right? We learned that.
I've seen it.
Yep. But now you can have these things serving drinks. You can have them doing the back kitchen stuff. Okay, so a lot of that stuff's going to go away. But now you add artificial intelligence to this, and they can do very high performing functions now. They can have all the knowledge that's on the internet at their fingertips through this artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, we've always faced this where technology is always replacing jobs.
Mm-hmm.
There's some limitations though to where, I mean, yes, it will obsolete some jobs, but there's just some limitations where I don't think tradesmen are going away because, I
I don't
remember
think tradesmen are.
right. I remember someone trying to replace a light sensor in the pantry at my house one time. I'm like, I bet you a robot can't do that because he was all torted up in the pantry.
The robot's not going to have enough swear words for that kind of work.
Right. So I'm not too worried about that, but therefore, okay, you can have a robot fetch you things and do some household stuff. But in terms of management, in terms of white collar jobs, I think that the robots aren't coming for it, but the software is. Because like, when you do an appraisal,
but the software and robots are one now.
Right? They are
all that software is in the robot.
Right. I would worry more about software or algorithms or AI or whatever you want to call it being able to do your job. Like, for example, in my field, there should be no financial planners. There just shouldn't be. You have robo
financial
advisors.
planners are just salespeople.
Right. So they shouldn't exist. Everyone out there can do their own financial planning now quite easily because it's all been streamlined with online software offered by robo advisors. Like, and I'm not endorsing any of them. I do not endorse Betterment. They went woke. But they have like, okay, plug in your name, when you expect to die, and there's your portfolio, and it spits it out, and you're done. So that I could say, and that's fine because we didn't need these people. But I've always forecasted, the Luddite argument is, oh, they're going to take our jobs. I'm like, okay, and you'll find something else to do. So what I'm thinking is, I've talked about this before, but it was years ago. It's going to bifurcate into two types of jobs you're going to have in this or any other country. You're going to have your very high skilled people, such as surgeons or tradesmen or linemen, or some that requires an actual human to be here. A robot will not cut. It just doesn't have the dexterity or the intelligence or stuff like that. Or you're going to have what I'm going to say is the human touch, where you're going to want what would you guys prefer, a human or a robot waitress?
Right, generally a human. Yeah,
I think the robot's going to spit on my food.
It's the emotional.
Well, okay.
It's an emotional connection.
Right.
Let me back up a little bit. So they're already doing remote surgery robotically. So a surgeon might be in Germany, and then there'll be a robot on the other end doing the incisions, and he's directing it from overseas. That's already happening.
All right. But
so that skill level can be replaced. But I do agree with you that that personal connection, that relationship skills, and you did a video on this the other day. I caught part of it, right, on how to dress, right?
Yeah.
You got to learn some basic skills, right? You need to be able to interact with humans. That skill level, that's the skill that can't be replaced. That's the value.
And I think that will be going up in value, where you will pay extra for a human waiter. Or you would, like a massage. I don't want a massage from a robot. I'm sure maybe it's fine. You got a shiatsu chair. Okay, but it's not the same as getting an actual masseuse in there and doing it for you. So it's going to present people a very interesting question. It's like, look, do you want to serve other people via being human and being kind, essentially? Or do you want to go into this high level, high skill, highly compensated, like where you're designing? And I know some of this can be outsourced to AI, but okay, we got a city with this type of layout. How do we design a sewer system for it? You're either going to be trained very highly, requiring a lot of schooling and education, or you are going to be a human touch type of person, whether that's wait staff, service industry, and all that. And given what we've seen the past 10 years, the latest, youngest generation coming out, they have no interest in working in the service industry or being that human touch. I won't say which group, but there's a huge market for one group of people to do a certain thing. And I know it's very inappropriate to say it, but it doesn't make it any less true. There will be, if we keep going down this robot world where they kind of take care of everything, there will be enough free time and high demand for one group of people to do something for another group of people. And I'm very fascinated where that will come out. I'm very fascinated how that will come out. But yes, you will either have to have human touch or some high level skill. And then there would be an argument down the road, if it keeps going this way, that there'd have to be some kind of UBI for all the people who don't want to have a human touch job, or they don't want to go for 8 years to become some kind of lineman or something like that.
Yeah. I think they're already working on that anyway with all the illegals, right? I mean, they're already just giving them debit cards with lots of money on it. May as well just do it for the rest of the Americans.
That's Craig, just crazy talk, John. That's just
conspiracy stuff. Craig, one of the things I think the application for these robots, though, think about this. Let's say you run a landscaping company. And the thing that I've seen where this is demoed, they talk about these things, those robots can work basically, I forget what it is. I don't know how many straight hours. At some point, they have to be reset. I don't know what happens. I mean, they
probably charge batteries and stuff.
You may have to tune them, batteries or whatever. They need a little bit of rest. But let's say that they can work for 22 hours a day. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's 20 hours a day. Maybe it's 18 hours. I'm not sure. But let's say you have a landscaping team of robots, and they just go out and you program it in with the software. Here's the design plan. Here's what we're doing, guys. Go to it.
Yeah. I mean, at 30,000 a crack, and you have a crew for 300 grand, 10 robot crew.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer if they can do the work, right? So maybe you got one human that's overseeing the robots.
Yeah, I think right now the hang up is the data processing. Then you got Amazon, you got Microsoft. They're building nuclear reactors to power their data centers, so they can crunch all this data to make this stuff feasible. Right now, we don't have the processing speed to compute all that. I think that's the hang up right now.
I got a question, just in terms of feasibility. Okay, it's the robots, they're coming, but the humans got to put them in place, right? We got to design this system and get the robots in there.
Yep.
And I'm sure advances in robotics have been very impressive. I just think we're going to screw it up. That I'm not worried about losing my job, although I don't have a real job. I don't think anyone really has to worry about it. Yeah, exactly. But back in the day, like right now, there ain't no robot army out there going to landscape my house.
Right.
I got to do it myself. There ain't no human army either, because that's beneath everyone under the age of 40 to do manual labor. But I got to imagine, with Microsoft being as incompetent as it is, I don't know if you use Microsoft products. I know everyone uses Office or Excel.
Yeah.
But they're not as competent as you think. And to get something as complicated as an artificial intelligence, like AI, ChatGPT AI, we've had it for what, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made some really cool thumbnails with it. That's some really cool thumbnails for my YouTube
Look
channel.
at ChatGPT as DOS 2.1.
Okay. You think it's going to go that quick and that fast?
Yep. I think exponential growth now. This
John,
is not going to go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, John, are you a realtor?
Well, I have been. I mostly do cost segregation work now with commercial building owners.
Okay.
I work for an engineering firm, business development.
Are you guys worried about losing your jobs, or would you worry about realtors losing their job? Okay.
No, we're both kind of out of the business, right?
Yeah, and I think software will eliminate a lot of the realtors. Craig and I disagree on that, but I think that's coming.
I think you still need that personal human touch. There's so much psychology that goes into this, so much fear and emotion that goes into a real estate transaction. But a lot of that stuff can be done with software and robotics. So that's going to change, right? You could get a brokerage if these robots get to that level that can run a lot of that legwork. So then one agent might be able to do the job of 20.
Because the robots are doing the analysis or the valuations, or
the legwork, the driving across town and traffic, opening the doors, that kind of stuff. The stuff that consumes a lot of the time.
Well, I think we're a lot of these things were already there. It's not robot doing it. Like, you can open up your door with your phone and an app. You're saying, you can send this robot.
Owners won't allow that without someone there present. Otherwise, they have theft and they have vandalism. So it hasn't been practical to do.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think that can be fixed fairly quickly by, if you're gonna, Craig, you and I talked about this, right? But if you're gonna go look for a house on your own without a realtor, you might make a deposit for $500 or something, a security deposit in your marketplace. You're gonna go look for houses, and that $500 might buy some additional insurance policy in case you create $20,000 worth of damage or something. I don't know, right? But people aren't going to damage the houses. There'll be some of that. It's like you with your rental business. How many times have people totally trashed your rentals?
How many times? How many times, Craig? How many times?
All the time. But I don't know if I would just let anyone into the house. Like, if I'm selling, I'll let an agent in, right?
But you'll know who they are, Craig. You'll have their driver's license. You'll have their credit score. You'll have their social media identity. You'll know where they work. I mean, there'll be a lot of stuff, I think, that you will know, and you'll probably have security cameras and all kinds of stuff. My guess is that's all going to be coming, and you're being like, yeah, anybody can go in the house as long as they, their thumbprint matches up, or their eyes are in the database. all right, go at it, because we're coming after you if you screw up my house.
I'm never selling.
I'm of the mind. I think the realtor business is going to go away significantly.
It's going to change drastically. Yep. But it boils down to assets, right? So we talk about robots. Robots an asset. So if your skill level, you can look at a job trade, right? You're going to school to learn how to do a task, right? You're going to be a cog in the wheel at a corporation, is what the schools are cranking out. Or you can go in and you can start buying assets. You can start investing in gold, silver, stock market. You can invest in real estate, or you can start investing in these robots and you can rent them out. Or you can run a crew of landscapers or whatever they're able to do. That's an asset. And then you can make money off of that, because not everyone's going to be able to afford a $30,000 robot.
You know what? And I'm sure somewhere in history, what this is identical to, and I'm sure there are records where we could analyze it. This is no different than owning a slave, except this doesn't have any sentience. It's not human, and it would be ethical. And so I'm sure if we were to go back in the olden days and find out how slaves were valued and all that. Now, of course, I mean, they were more akin to cattle, because you would look for stronger, bigger, they even, breeding. It was more akin to livestock, but robots
it's like a tractor. I wouldn't even equate it to a slave.
Okay. So it would be like a machine. Well, it is a machine.
It's a machine. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tool. It's a tractor. It's whatever. It's, your 3D printer, right? You can get a line of robots cranking out widgets.
It's the rest of the people that will become the slaves.
Yes.
Right. A large part of the society basically is just going to be, if you can't harness the AI and have some kind of intelligent skill that you can bring to the market, most of these people are just going to be slaves.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's the lower class. They're slaves.
Who would they be slaves to? I mean, if we were actually to get functional robots,
slaves to the U.S. dollar.
Okay,
but how do you compete though, right? So I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if the robots do come. If they're taking all these lower level jobs.
Well, they're taking high level jobs too.
You need UBI to sustain them.
Well, and that's the realm we're going into. Is historically speaking, there's always been this asymptotic approach to technology, and they're replacing people's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Thus far, there has always been a new industry or more jobs created in fields that previously didn't exist. Video games. I don't know, airplanes.
Computers.
So computers, right? So so as long as humans can be creative, and then we have all the time, we can focus on these higher order, more complex, advanced things. There might be new industries that would employ, but absent that, now you got a population in which the whole point of robots was.
Sorry, I had to share this comment.
Yeah,
plus NFL.
There you go. There we go. Plus,
why? That's all they need is money in the NFL.
Bread and circuses,
right? But what you're going to run into is kind of more of a Malthusian economics, or the study of limits. Is like, okay, we've created very adapt functional robots or software, and it's starting to really replace humans, that we don't need these humans anymore. Then this is almost the dream come true, because it's like, well, if we don't have robots, or if we don't have to have people doing this anymore, the robots do all the work and we sit on our ass and we collect free stuff that the robots make. So there would have to be some kind of UBI. And though I'm not a communist, that would be the ideal and the goal. The issue is you're going to have to start introducing population limits, where it's like, no, you can't breed, because humans would outbreed the infrastructural robot economy's ability to provide food, clothing, shelter, and all that. So we're right now in a transition period, I guess, or the early stages of a transition period, if you guys are that concerned about robots taking over. But are you guys thinking this is going to happen in 10 years, 20 years? Because I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. I think we will be dead by the time anything seriously replacing humans to a level we have to have.
I think technology's compounding speed. I think this is going to start happening in 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm quite there yet. That'll happen that fast. I think the software is going to be extraordinary. I think one of the things that you're going to see is the individual is going to be able to do so much more and be so much more valuable, because they know how to harness the AI compared to before. And the other challenge I see, though, even if all this gets rid of the mundane stuff that we have to do to fix things or go do errands, and allows us to focus on higher level concepts and things that maybe we could bring to the market. The challenge I find is, are there that many more people that are out there that are educated enough or want to be educated or driven enough that they're going to go spend that time thinking, being educated, try to drive that to the next highest level? It just feels like, I mean, the education system's been dumbed down. The college system's a joke. You know, are those people out there anymore to really try to pursue that stuff?
So if we were in our 20s again, Aaron, and we're repeating this, and this is coming down the pipeline, what skills would you?
I would be tradesman, but I've always said I'd be tradesman otherwise. I would probably go into the world of IT and programming. So I'm the one building the bots or the software or the AI.
Because they'll need repairing.
They'll need repairs. They'll need new Bipsy wants her nails done. So I got to program the robot to have the dexterity to do her nails or whatever it is. I think that's the field that I would be going into. But I'd probably do the trades.
Robert Kiyosaki says sales, right? So trades or sales are the skills levels, and the sales is that one-on-one personal human contact. And the more things become AI, I think the more valuable that gets too.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I still think having a skill that can't be replaced by a robot or is hard to replicate by a robot. And then you have to have sales for anything because there's going to be a human at the end of the decision whether or not to hire you. Unless you granted authority to MBA bot who could make decisions on whether to supply contract or fund contracts. And then you just run the algorithm and like submitting a resume with all the keywords and you fool the algorithm. But at the end of the day, though, you still gotta there's going to be a human that makes a decision whether or not to fund or to provide the power to robots to acquiesce to your request. So I still think, trades or something like that. I just don't have the faith in humans to make a good robot economy. I can't get these assholes to have ice cream at Sonic. I don't know what they're going to do when their computer system goes down and Betty the bot is glitching out. You know what I would become? Here's what I become: a robot repairman. That's what I would become.
It's like
I just had this
repairman.
This vision is sitting at the drive-thru at a fast food chain, and you know that Microsoft spinning wheel of death as it's trying to load. For my
I can't wait for the robot horror movies, and maybe they're already out there. But take that Elon Musk robot, and I was asking some other buddies, like, "Hey, would you want to have one of these sleeping in your house 24/7, working in your house 24/7? What if somebody decided to hack this thing and make it go nuts on you? How do you stop it?"
Yeah, my son went to school at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, doing aeronautical engineering, and they have robots all over campus, right? So the student jumps on their phone and says, "Oh, I need lunch delivered to this room," right? I'm working on a project, or to the dorm room. Yep. And then this little 4-wheel cart that's like a little Coleman cooler that looks like a robot drives, and GPS coordinated, goes to the cafeteria. They load in the lunch, and then it drives to wherever the student is and drops it off for the student. And then does
order Selma Hayek that way. That'd be great if a little robot came and Selma Hayek was perched on top of it. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's great.
So the technology's there, and it goes down the city streets. It crosses busy roads. It waits till the lights to turn. I mean, the technology's there.
Crazy.
Now, to make it look like Selma Hayek might be more of a challenge.
No, I'm saying if we
I would pay more than $30,000 for one of those.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit more than $30,000 for a realistic Selma Hayek.
Yeah, I would think.
Well, I'm not worried about it now. I think the bigger, more immediate threat would be for your white collar jobs where there's any kind of analysis required, that you'd have pretty standard metrics to go by that can be programmed into software and algorithm. But I'm not thinking linemen are going to lose their job anytime soon.
No, I don't think linemen will lose their job, and there's obviously those basic skills are going to be needed going forward. It's not going to wipe everybody out, but I think the world changes as we know it. and the world changed on us, and we didn't know it. Right? You were told to go through college and blah blah blah, get
Sure. MBA, right.
save. Right? Everything we were taught was wrong, and I think
Mhm.
everything this new generation's being taught is wrong. I think the world's about to change on them.
So let's think about this, guys. Minneapolis Fed. I just Googled. How many employees do you think they have?
The Fed in Minneapolis?
Minneapolis.
I'm going to
God,
guess.
I don't even want to guess.
I'm going to guess 300 to 400.
1,000 people. If that's what Google told me, 1,000 people.
All right.
So I'm guessing the AI in the not too distant future is going to be able to do a lot of the work that a lot of those people do.
It should, because it's all
should.
math. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
math. And you
Correct.
can't have, I think even Alan Greenspan was mentioning, like, when he first entered, it was pen and paper. And by the time he was done, they had computers that, 3 economists could do the work of 100 from back
Right.
in his day. So, yeah, no, I would not go into economics at all.
Right.
Not at all. Yeah.
So think about that. Economics, any kind of math related, that's going to be tough with the AI because I think those are going to get whacked first.
Yeah, computer programming's out.
Yeah.
You think? Even though they got to program the new code to
Yep. There's going to be
program the code?
fewer of them needed.
Fewer of them. Yeah.
Yeah. You still need some, but
I mean,
fewer
we
of them
still
needed.
need wagon wheels today, just not very many of them.
Yeah, but again, I think it gets back to the guys that know how to run this stuff are going to get paid exceptionally well. If they know how to run the AI and survive, they will get paid really well. AI
Okay,
jockeys.
if I were to plan this out, I would double down on sales skills and the trades, and I would figure out how to earn a bunch of money and buy as many assets as I could,
Yeah.
because the Fed is going to continue to print money, and the only way to stay even with the Fed is assets.
income generating assets.
Yes,
Yeah.
income
Yeah.
generating assets.
Or assets that are purposely designed to hedge against inflation. But yeah, the value of your asset has to be derived from future income that will naturally be hedged against inflation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would go along with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, you mean my sociology degree won't be worth anything?
It's not now because they're talking about paying the student loans, right?
So Craig, I was reading the with all the AI stuff, one of the big things that we're all going to have to figure out is power, electricity, right? That's going to be a massive business going forward.
There's a company building small nuclear reactors, and that's what these data centers are contracting for. It's Amazon, Microsoft, and there was someone else contracting with them to build these small nuclear reactors to power the data centers. And that's exactly what we got.
Nuclear reactor. Wouldn't it be cool? Like, here's my nuclear reactor. You could
Right.
provide power to the city or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's an opportunity there. I'm sure they're not cheap.
No. But that's an asset, right? So if you can own energy producing, right? I don't know if solar right now is probably not a good asset to purchase, but it probably won't be that far down the road where it is.
Yeah, I have solar panels, and it's close to break even, especially if you're not an energy hog. But here, I looked up these reactors you're talking about. They're called SMR, small modular reactors, and the price ranges from $50 million to $3 billion for larger units.
50 million's not bad.
So there's probably an opportunity, Craig. Think about these syndicators doing real estate deals.
Yeah,
that's like a big real estate deal, multifamily deal.
What's the cost segregation on a nuclear reactor?
I don't know.
Cost segregation?
What's the plutonium, the depreciation schedule?
I would love to send one of those indoor engineers and say, hey, give me an estimate. Calculate the estimate, please, on this nuclear reactor.
Does it show you how many kilowatts the small one generates?
Here, NewScale, the company that developed the SMR, targeted at a cost of 58 per megawatt hours. This is on a per watt basis. It says 50 million on the low end. And you want to know how much it generates?
Yeah.
Opportunities. Yeah, it's all on a per megawatt hour basis.
Well, what are they rated as per megawatt?
I think it was $80 to $90 per megawatt hour. Offshore wind is 3 to 5,000 per kilowatt to construct. Utility scale solar cost between 700 to 1,500 per kilowatt hour. So, I mean, again, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I got to imagine any kind of reactor, even if it's a small one, you're probably going to still, just to make your money back, you're going to have a small city wanting to consume your electricity in order to make it. I mean, it might be a great idea for small cities, but
Well, these data centers will consume all that.
right,
That's
that
what they're
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they already have the customer built in themselves.
Right. I just want to. Can I just have my own small nuclear reactor? Can I just be my
That would
first
be
step to
awesome.
James Bond villain status? I have my
That
nuclear
would be awesome.
reactor.
Have some land in the country and sell off the electricity. You're just collecting the check.
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
Post-apocalyptic world. Oh, I see you're out of electricity. Would you like some? You have a cute daughter. I would like to take her with me. No, your wife is too fat and old. You may keep her.
The Austin Power fembots.
Yeah. Oh, dude. You would never see me again. I'd be all for you. I just have the fembots. It'd be all over. You guys.
That's funny. Love that.
No, it's all about assets. And I don't think the Federal Reserve's they can't stop printing. We'll go broke. That's just
You could just assume they're going to print.
Yeah.
But you should, regardless whether it's to hedge against inflation or get a real rate of return, you should have been looking into these investments, not nuclear reactors, but you should be looking into stocks and real estate and equipment and education. So the game plan doesn't change. It's just the inflated numbers that we're going to measure success by, Will.
Well, I think the game plan changes, right? It's not getting the 2.1 kids and the white picket fence. It's really to come out of wherever your gate is start right out of high school, and your goal is to make as much money as you can to start into assets so you don't get left in the dust.
Right.
But and we were taught to say, no, you're going to get the career. You're going to, go into debt for college, get the career, and then get married and, have all this. That's not in the cards today.
No,
not the way they're
printing
is. Money.
It is if you tell kids what to do correctly. Like if we weren't told that there's a difference between go to college and follow your heart and money will follow. They told our generation that they literally told us and the next generation that you could do whatever you wanted and make a living at. That's simply not true.
Right.
If you tell people go into the trades, go into engineering, go become a surgeon, computer engineer,
there's an awful lot of TikTok dancers doing all right, aren't there?
Well, and that's the human aspect. Or if you're a hot girl, go monetize your looks. Sorry, it's true. There's a whole other. But for men or people who don't want to essentially become a digital stripper, the advice doesn't change. And it shouldn't have changed under the boomers telling pie in the sky bullshit. Yes, you do need a good degree or skill or trade. Yes, you need to save money. Yes, you need to invest your money. All those things would hold true under normal times or not inflationary times because you want to get a positive rate of return. And through that, that's how you could get enough financial stability to afford a house, afford a family and stuff like that. So I don't think family and kids are off the table.
Mm-hmm.
I just think for a generation or two, it was because they were given the completely wrong information, crippled themselves financially, predominantly with worthless degrees, and now they're playing catch up. There's also what I call a cancerous-like philosophy that one sex doesn't need the other. I won't say what it is, but it ends with ism. And that's more of a threat to having kids or families and all that. But that has nothing to do with the labor market or robots or choosing the right career profession. That has to do with very miserable people.
Right. And for both of what you guys said, Craig, I was thinking, go to college, get a good job, make money, go buy a house. Right. And the realtor profession's all about going and buying a nice house for yourself and for your family. Right. But maybe it should be go buy your first investment property and delay buying your first house for yourself. Right. Because it's cheaper in most markets to rent anyway. It just is a lot cheaper. Go rent a house and maybe go buy an investment property. If it makes sense to even buy an investment property. I know that's not easy today either. Mm-hmm. Right.
How much? Let me ask you this, Craig and John. I don't know what your marital status is, but if we didn't waste our time chasing girls and follow heart, money follow and night clubbing and all that, Instead, just brass tacks down, like you're the son of a farmer and you're going to work and this is what you're going to do. And then Craig, you became a carpenter, or I were just become an accountant or something more practical. And John, if we didn't waste our time young, wasting it on other things, we probably could have afforded the family and the house. We would have had the financial stability. There were a couple curveballs thrown in there with some recessions, especially the Great Recession. But I think if people are given the wrong information, they should be in a much better position that family might be on the table.
Yeah, I think so. And I have a big family. I'm still married 36 years. I got 6 kids. I got 6 grandkids. But I look at the early part of my career, I was chasing a career and it was all consuming. And I look back on it now, it's like, man, I was sucked in. Today, I don't know that I would tell my younger self if I went back to do that again. I'd leave the house and it was dark. Kids were sleeping, get home when the kids were sleeping. They already went to bed. Didn't see them. For what? For a company that eventually just laid me off because they didn't need me anymore?
Right.
I was super loyal, and I try to tell younger people, I'm like, look, I know you love your company and things are going great. I'm just telling you, having been on both sides of this thing, hiring and firing people and being fired is like, company doesn't give a shit about you. I'm sorry. The company is going to try to protect themselves. So if you want to give every ounce that you have to that job, when the business needs to save itself and cut your ass, you're gone. So just realize that. So we're building other people's dreams, shareholders, et cetera. Unless you got a stake in the company, you're just another higher paid cog in the wheel. You're not building an asset. You're building your skills, which can pay you potentially, but not everybody survives that. And and speaking of, I want to make mention, we were talking about the jobs earlier. I know it's 3 or 4 friends now in their 50s, all have been laid off recently. These are high paid guys, multiple 6 figures. They're not going back to those kinds of jobs again. They're not going to get that kind of job. Just not going to happen. They ran pretty far, and now the company's cut them, and they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our 50s, and the guys are.
Well, you spent whoa! What's this wee stuff, man? I'm 49 and 9/10. All right, you guys are in your 50s. All right,
I'm 59.
I got a couple months left. All right, tell me about you guys.
Kathy is a millennial. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm a millennial. Yeah,
yeah, he's a millennial.
My feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know several guys that got laid off too, right? And then so when we were starting out, the boomers kind of had that job market saturated. Right now, I think there's huge opportunity if you just bypass college and just buy a business. These boomers are selling their businesses.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, but where's a young person going to get the money for that? I mean, you got to start. You got to work. You got to build up a nest egg. You got to start somewhere. It's not as easy. I think there's a future, to be perfectly honest, in building your own home, picking up the skill or a trade. I know become a tradesman is one thing, but I think there's something to be said where it's like, okay, I'm going to go buy the land and pour my own concrete, or find a prefab home and make it myself. I think that might be a future where, John, you invest in the house, you get it done in early, and in getting housing early on, assuming you find out where you want to live.
Yeah.
You knock out your largest expense in life. No, I got lodging. I mean, you might have a mortgage for a little bit, but that's done.
Yeah.
And that puts you in a very good situation, whether there's robots or not. I mean, heck, and there, Craig, you were the one telling me about these prefab homes, and they've come quite a distance in terms of quality and technology.
Yeah.
I think that is, if anything, going to liberate young people today where, you actually might be able to have affordable housing, but the house has to be relatively small.
Right.
Yep. Housing is actually cheaper now than it was in the early 80s.
Is that like based on payment to income or okay?
Yep. Income to payment. Yep. So, and housing's expensive, right? I mean, when you jump from 4% interest rates up to 6.5%, 7%.
I have 2.75% on my mortgage. I don't know who has. Do people have 4% interest rates? Oh, that's just
bottom ticket. Nice.
I know someone who's in the VA. He got a VA and like 2.1%. I'm like, you fucker. I'm like, God dang, man.
Guys, never letting that thing go.
Never letting it go. Never letting it go. Yeah.
No.
That's the asset.
Yeah.
So then the other article was 1 in 6 companies are hesitant to hire recent college graduates. I wonder why.
What does the article give? I always love reading the articles. What do journalists think why And then I like to opine myself because the journalists are usually not right. Do they have a reason why they think 1 in 6 are reluctant?
Okay,
They
so
well, I'll comment. Craig, I have it open, and you might want to put it on the screen there. But lack of motivation or initiative is the number one reason. Lack of professionalism, poor organizational skills, poor communication skills, challenges with feedback, lack of relevant work experience, whatever. They're new, they're young. Poor problem solving skills, inefficient technical skills, bad cultural fit, and difficulty working in a team. Those are kind of the main reasons.
I kind of, I'll be honest, it's like watching the Nazis and the communists fight in World War II. I kind of hope they both win and both lose at the same time because they're both guilty and they have some good points and they're wrong at other points. One, yeah, Zoomers, you guys aren't as smart as you think. These are college graduates, right, John?
Yep.
So they have no organizational skills. They can't show up on time. They don't take initiative. Like, holy shit, you went to college and you still don't have those common sense, I would say, mature adult behaviors,
Right.
like punctuality. So yeah, shame on them. But I don't know why are you requiring college graduates? What about training skill or training programs? Like, I don't know about you guys. I've never gone to a job in my career where I needed my college degree. A 2-week training program would have sufficed. It did. So I don't know. Maybe you ought to train these kids in to be what you want instead of unnecessarily forcing them to go to school for 4 years for some bullshit degree.
Yeah, and I think what I see because I have a bunch of Zoomers and just dealing with these young people is that they're so used to taking the advice of those who are certified or the professors or whatever. They're not taking the initiative. It's just so drilled into their head what it is that they need to do for the grade they got to get or whatever to get the degree. That lack of problem solving, creativity, initiative, I think is a huge missing link in that generation.
But would it be their fault though? Like if they've not been conditioned to like think on their own and problem solve and just do what you, because I went to school. I remember teachers are assholes. They're dictatorial. You got to do this funny sign to get their approval. So I don't know if that's even taught in the schools anymore.
No, it's not. And I think it's in the home as well. And you've got the technology that's blowing up kids' minds and the phone and everything else. So, I mean, I think a lot of that stuff has just dulled all these people. I really do. I think it's diminished their drive and their creativity.
I'm not a big defender of young people in general, especially Gen Z, but were they ever conditioned to have a drive in the first place?
I think school wipes that out.
Yeah.
I think you're taught to never be wrong in school.
Stay in line.
Yeah. So you're after the gold star. You don't want to make an error. You don't want to have anything wrong. So you're not going to take a risk. You're not going to go out on a limb. And that's the exact opposite of what you need to succeed in the world. Unless you work for a corporate environment and just be a cog in the wheel.
Right. But even they're dealing with different people and personalities and requests. You do have to be problem solving. You do have to think outside of the box. You have to be resourceful. And again, I'm kind of coming to their defense. Like I remember being an 18-year-old. School never challenged you on any of that.
Right.
And if you ever dare to go outside the box, you usually got admonished or disciplined or yelled at. So I could kind of see that they don't have the ability. Now, them being late and tardy is inexcusable, but this one I could kind of go on their side a little bit.
They and that's why I think it's important that they, have outside jobs. Our kids always had jobs in high school. It was good. It was good for them to learn from a boss rather than just mom or dad or the school teacher. They had to be in a real environment, deal with other human beings, learn sales, learn customer service. All of that stuff, I think, is really important for these young people today. There was an article, Craig. I don't know if I sent it to you. I'll send it both to you guys later. But this guy's called Rebel Educator. He says he ran through this nice little tweet thread that he put together. But he says when kids leave traditional school, they have to go through a deschooling process. Deschooling equals unlearning all the bad habits you picked up in school. Some of the biggest habits kids need to unlearn. And he goes through this whole thing: being passive, waiting for permission, deferring to authority, learning to test or learning to the test, doing the bare minimum to get by. That's all. I mean, I can attest to the fact that, yeah, I think that's a real problem and is very prevalent, unfortunately, in the younger generation. And part of that burden falls on us as the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, we're all too damn soft.
Yeah. Todd had commented on your previous comment. Our current college students working part-time while attending class or living off government parent subsidies. It kind of touches on what you were talking about.
Yeah, good question. Like, I've got one who's going to Greenville Tech, so he's living at home here. He's knocking out his first year and a half, and then he's going to transfer to Clemson. He's working. He's got a little business, so he's doing some entrepreneurial stuff, which is cool to see. But he's also subsidized by mom and dad. He's, it's pretty tough to pay for a college education at 30 to 40 grand. It's gotten a lot more expensive,
especially
now.
when you can buy a bot for 30 grand.
Yeah.
40 grand might get you the Selma Hayek model.
Go to Western Governors University online. You can do it for 12 grand for your entire fucking degree.
Yeah. The amazing thing here in Greenville, he's going for free basically because he's got good grades, and they've got a great program here in South Carolina. I want to make sure these kids get certain degrees. And what they're doing there is if kids want to transfer to Clemson, a more traditional college education, that's great, but they're also training them for the trades and for other kinds of labor type work, skilled labor. Greenville's done a great job here in South Carolina trying to train some of these younger people in that. And the companies are very involved, as rightly they should be, to have some impact on what they want to see in these young students.
John fled Minnesota also. Cappy fled Minnesota.
I bailed 5 years ago. Before George Floyd. I skipped out 1 year before George Floyd. People said, "How did you know it was going to get so bad?" I said, it was heading in that direction.
Oh, yeah. You just have to know. Craig's still stuck in Minnesota. How is Minnesota, Craig? How is it over there? Winter's coming, huh? Yeah. I bet everyone knows how to drive this year on those.
I have all my real estate assets in this basket.
The number of times I've tried, like, Craig, sell half your shit, move to South Dakota. Oh, yes. No. Oh, no. The cap rate on these properties is just too good. What do you mean they're burning them down?
Yeah. I mean, you did spot Minneapolis before it really went bad. We started seeing the tax starting to go up.
Yeah,
you could sell.
400% increase in 7 years on property taxes. And then if that doesn't drive you away, the fine men and women of Minnesota themselves will, with their wonderful, charming personalities and yeah.
But if you want to buy or sell real estate in Minnesota, give me a call.
Yeah, exactly. I hear things are going well downtown Minneapolis and St. Paul. The businesses are booming.
Did you, Craig, have you seen those articles? And John, you probably knew a couple of these buildings, like 2 skyscrapers sold for like 90 or 91% off.
Yeah,
that's right, John. You're a commercial real. You probably know about that.
I watch that stuff. It's wild. Those blue cities, there's some discounts on this property. It's just insane.
Now, is it largely because people don't work in offices anymore and they just don't have the need for housing employees, essentially?
Yeah, and think about it. A lot of these guys, they take out these loans and they're only 5 years or 7 years. So now the loans are coming due. They don't have the rent roll. They can't. They either have to come to the table with tons of equity or just dump the property. So most of those guys just give them back to the bank. So it's not even really their problem. I mean, if BlackRock loses a building, it doesn't matter to them. They don't care. Their credit's not damaged.
Right.
They just the problem is for the bank now. Yeah. Bank loaned them $100 million. Now the building's worth $20 million, and now the bank has the problem.
Oh, the bank has a problem. That's just too bad.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Wells Fargo's got some troubles, huh? That's just too bad when Wells Fargo suffers.
We feel
Aaron,
bad.
You should dig into this because this could be bigger than the housing crash. So
you have real estate?
Yeah, commercial real estate, because like John says, they're all on 5 or 7 year,
recycling.
They're going to recycle every 5 to 7 years, and then insurance has skyrocketed, tenancy has gone down, taxes have gone up, and then the mortgage rates are way higher. So when they go to refi, they can't.
That sounds like I gotta do research pull out my database as an Excel spreadsheet
Oh,
and
sounds
do
like
math,
work.
and then I have to write a book or something. Or I could just yell at the internet like I do now, go hiking, and
Enjoy yourself.
enjoy myself.
Exactly.
Craig, how many people listened to me when I wrote the first book predicting the housing? Did anyone listen to it that time?
I did.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks a lot. Let me go grab my Excel spreadsheets right now.
So it's kind of fun talking to these guys, to both you guys who obviously dig into all that stuff. I remember digging on the housing crash. Before it crashed, I remember going, I'd go to bed at night. I talked to my wife. I'm like, oh my God, the stuff that we're seeing I can't remember if it was probably Las Vegas and Florida or something. But I was like, it wasn't on the mainstream news. And Aaron, I'm sure you were probably already well aware of it if you're doing a lot of research on that stuff. But most people had no clue this stuff was going on. And then it just blew.
Yeah. No, it was Phoenix, Vegas, and Florida. You're right. Those are the three main markets that were the most overvalued. Saw the largest decrease.
And Florida 2.0 is in the works.
Oh,
didn't you get out of Florida? You're out of Florida.
I did. I sold right at the peak.
You got lucky.
Nice. Nice.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, I went down there. I went to a real estate seminar in Savannah, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And the seminar was only like an inch away on the map from Savannah. And I looked at it as like an hour drive. Like, I'm not going to go. So then we jumped in the car and we drove down to Daytona Beach. And I started looking at real estate and saw this house on the intercoastal. It was like 350 or 380 or something. Just bought it on the spot. It's just totally unplanned. And then, blocked from the beach, and it rode it all the way up. And then I'm looking at these numbers and I'm like, this just seems stupid. We're in the middle of COVID and things just went crazy. I'm like, I'm getting out. Florida does nothing but,
up and down.
Up and down.
You just need a little bit up.
There? Is it getting softer at Daytona Beach now?
Yeah, they didn't get hit this last one. So I had a friend that is down there, and he was going to go check on his place, but they didn't get hit, so he didn't go down. The other side is hit pretty hard, 2 in a row. A lot of people without insurance. There's going to be a lot of distressed assets coming up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you buy it.
Yeah.
Not without insurance, unless you can pay cash.
Got to pay cash. Cash is king once again.
I don't know. I don't think I'll ever buy a home again. I think I'm done. I got my house. I'm done. If anything, I'd be doing real estate investment trust. If I get a real estate, I'm going to buy this and be done with it. And
Daytona is a total crap hole.
Is it? I've never been there.
Yeah, Daytona Beach is. You get down to Daytona Beach shores, Port Orange, and like New Smyrna. That's nice. That's where I was at.
Oh, but it's
easier just to say Daytona, right?
Oh,
Daytona is a shithole.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't say that on TV or radio, or what are we on? Internet?
Well, whose channel are we on, John or yours?
Mine.
Craig's.
Okay. Yeah, we're fine. How many subscribers you got?
Both of them.
Okay. I'm not going to worry I wouldn't worry too much about YouTube coming in and crushing your channel just yet. You could say.
Does YouTube bust you if you're swearing?
Yeah. Not really. They keep changing the rules. So the latest incarnation that I bothered to read was, as long as you don't curse within the first 30 seconds, you're fine. However, you can't say certain words that aren't even necessarily curse words.
Interesting.
Because then you will, like the N word, or what's it? Another one. Self-deletion. It also starts with an S. We don't say it's not called self-deletion, but when someone decides to self-delete, that word will not necessarily get you banned, but your video might get taken down. Okay. So it's very much, but your channel doesn't I won't worry about it. Just when you get monetized, then worry about it.
Right.
You're
Craig,
muted.
where'd you go?
You're muted, Craig.
Am I? I've
Yeah.
Okay.
What were you saying?
I had to cough, and I just wanted to see if my microphone was back on.
Got it.
Yeah. So you can say I would worry more about like any realtor who does podcasting. Make sure I guess you have a reputation. Like, isn't there a code of ethics of conduct you have working for a realtor?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, like, don't go on with Aaron Clarey on a podcast. That might be like, sorry, I ruined your career, Craig. Sorry.
My reputation's been tarnished since the day I met you.
Yeah. Mine didn't. Look, after I met you, life didn't immediately improve either. Okay. It wasn't like I met Craig and now I'm a millionaire. That didn't happen.
No, there were years of struggle.
I remember being equally poor before I met you and after I met you, and equally unsuccessful with the girls before I met you and after I met you. You've done nothing to do to improve my life.
Yeah, I was probably not the best wingman for you.
You weren't a wingman. I wouldn't even consider. You never went out. I was a John. You don't know this, but I used to be like a ballroom dance guy. Like I did salsa swinging back when it was hot. Back when it was hot, like 20 years ago. I'm like, Craig, come on out. There's plenty of girls.
Never hot.
No, I don't like girls. I don't know. I'd have to learn to make a move, and then I'd have to
learn to dance.
I'd have to learn to dance, and then girls would be there, and then I'd be charming and charismatic. You know what girls like? Hunting ducks and deer. That's what they like. They like cutting a deer in a field. That's how I'm gonna find my woman. And then
my strategy played off.
Man,
it worked.
That harem of women you had gutting deers in fields.
I have the Selma Hayek model of robot coming in.
That's funny. That is awesome.
Well, we got any other articles today, or
no? That's pretty much it. We're just it's just kind of a crazy world. Everyone's on hold for the election. Real estate sales are down. We can touch on that here. So existing home sales, we're at like 2012 levels. Share this tab instead. So we're at 3.86 million sales. 2020, we were at 5.7. We peaked at about 6.7 million sales. So we're really down around 2012 levels. If we go locally here, this is a little more visual. This is the Twin Cities Metro, 44,000. Last time we were at that level, it was like May 2012, April 2012.
Not that bad then. I mean, I'm looking at housing starts, which is, I should have mentioned that in addition to inventory to sales. Housing starts is a really good indicator of recessions, and it's kind of been going on a downward trend since 2022, spring of 2022. Not a collapse, not a complete drop off, but one might say a gentle decline. So again, kind of indicating things are slowing down, but not in recession territory.
That's southern United States, that building boom, Florida, Texas, Arizona.
Yeah, South Carolina's in that. Yeah.
So they've temporarily overbuilt.
Now they're just digesting the surplus.
They'll digest a little bit. Okay. They're not that far overbuilt. They're just kind of a slight glut because of the interest rates. So the demand dropped a little bit. And then these are national builders, and they're funding the interest rates. So you can buy these houses with 4% interest rates, 4.5%.
Oh, they do the financing themselves?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
They'll buy them down.
Is K. Hovnanian still in business? They go belly up.
They are not in the Twin Cities anymore. They're still national.
What about Toll Brothers? They go belly up?
Toll is still around, but they're not in the Twin Cities anymore.
Okay. Horton's
still around. Yep. They're still a big dog.
Are they in the Twin Cities anymore?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So they're the ones that are going to lose their ass owning property in the. Okay.
Lennar's the big one in the Twin Cities.
Okay.
Craig, I was just looking at population. You said we go back to 2012 on the existing home sales data. So population in the U.S. 2012 was 316 million. Today it's 341 million. What is that? 25 million more people in the U.S.
9% increase. And I'm sure Craig and John, you've heard this, but back in the olden days, now I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but apparently in the before time, men and women stayed together and didn't get divorced, and they stayed in one house. Now, John, this may be a foreign concept to you, but
Here we
I guess it's
go.
called the nuclear family, and
Yeah.
you need one house for a bunch of people.
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Nuclear. Putting food on your families. I miss him. Anyway, there's with men and women not getting married as much anymore or cohabitating, there is, fine, the nominal population increased that much. I bet you the people not getting married and living under one roof, that has added way more to the demand for housing than
Yes, in apartments specifically.
in condos, I'm sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, delayed marriages, divorces. That drives, Craig's business probably.
That is my business plan.
Yeah.
To get divorced?
No.
Serve the divorce.
That wasn't a very good plan, but I did. But no. If you look at the population, right? So you got kids in the Wayzata school or pick a good school district. Half of those parents or 40% of those parents are going to be divorced, and they're going to have to stay in that school district.
Yes. Yeah. I like where you're going. Yes. Tell me more, Mr. Cameron.
Craig's like, give me all your money.
Yes. So they're going to have to stay in the school district. They split their income, so they're not going to be able to buy that same house. If they do keep the house, one's going to stay there, or they're going to sell the house, and they're both going to try to stay in the school district, which is demand for these little townhomes. And you can buy these. You used to be able to buy these townhomes pretty cheap in these good school districts.
And now what? I mean, legit, just divorced dads live there or something, or?
Well, it's the built-in market. I mean, you got a great location, you got affordable housing, you have demand from all different age groups. You have demand from widowers, you have a demand from just young couples that don't want to do the apartment route, divorced parents. It's just they're in such demand, these little 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. So if I could do a development in a good school district, I just build out these little rental townhome communities. It's like
excellent.
Yeah. I mean, there's no vacancy where I get a single family house and I sit and I wait to get the renter,
and then you got
as many people,
especially if you get a divorced dad or divorced mom, they got to work, right? They got to pay alimony or child support or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, isn't divorce great? I too have my business based on divorced and failed families. Isn't it wonderful?
And the robots aren't going to replace that.
They're not going to replace me. Nope. Not going to happen. So. Well, look, I got to get going.
Okay. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for being on. For
nice
everyone who tuned in from my channel, please subscribe to Craig's channel. Let's get him to 1,000. And then he has to have, 4,000 watch hours to get monetized?
That sounds right. I don't remember.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Then you'll become this huge internet celebrity.
And then I don't have to worry about robots either.
You don't have to worry about robots. You said it was personality and charm. See? Look how fucking charming I am. I'm really charming. I got a great personality. I'll see you guys.
I went on a lot of blind dates with great personality, right?
All right. See you guys.
All right. Have a good one, John.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.